So smoothing objects out. As with anything, there's any number of ways to go about this, with whether it's in Blender or any other program. So I'm just turning on my statistics. We can see that the scene has 900, almost 1,000 vertices. So some of the obvious things that I can do is I can add a modifier to a given object. So if I go to modifier and I go to subdivision surface, I've got a much smoother looking sphere. Now that hasn't fixed things entirely, but just be aware, sometimes it is simply a matter of doing something like that. However, there's a trade-off. I've got 2,500 vertices in the scene now rather than what I did have. But it's an option. I'm going to hide the sphere right now. So other options, of course. Well, the other thing to be aware of, actually, is if I add that same modifier onto different objects, I don't always get the same result. All right. Now, I can work around that. The question is if I want to and if it's worth my time and effort at this given time. I'm not going to bother with that. Other options to consider, especially when it's something fairly simple geometry-wise, I can shade smooth on the object, and that's beautiful. Now, it doesn't actually change the object. It just changes how the object is rendered. But it's something that makes a substantial difference on the look of the object. Now, when I do that in some objects, I'm going to get a slightly different result because in this case, I've got a series of flat surfaces coming together at tighter angles. And then on the inside, I've got a variety of curves that are, in theory, a lot smoother, a lot more gentle. If I go through the same process here and shade smooth, well, that definitely looks better. But in addition to the wonkiness that is happening inside of here, which is something we can talk about, there's also what happened to the outside. These nice sharp angles that I wanted to maintain, they're gone. So let's Control Z and get rid of that. Other option would be that I can apply it surface by surface. If I tab and go into edit mode and I select specific surfaces that I want to, I can likewise go to the face and I can shade smooth. When I tab out, you see that that's been applied to this general area. Now, of course, this can get really putsy, but let's just go ahead and play with this. I'm going to select everything. I went into X-ray mode. Now I'm going to get out of X-ray mode. Take a moment and hit the Control button, and the areas that I want to be more faceted looking, I will just hold the Control button down and unselect some of those. Take a moment to look around to see if I missed anything, because there we go. It's very easy to miss things. All right. Now, that being the case, we can do the same thing. I can go to the face. I can shade smooth. All right. Now, if I tab, we're going to see that I'm much closer to the effect that I want. There's still some craziness or a little bit of wonkiness going on inside of here, but maybe that's something that I can deal with. One of the things I can do is I can go to, after making sure I have the object selected, I can go to the data properties, and I can go down to normals, and there's this checkbox for auto smooth. And look at that, much, much nicer. Now, the thing with auto smooth is it's calculating the angles, and based on how you have this set, it'll determine how it renders things. So depending on the object you have, in my case, that 30% was actually pretty close to the mark. So I'll leave it, but it's a setting that you're certainly going to want to play with. Hope this helps out a little bit with at least some aspects of smoothing. Thanks.